Well, started my video with a cough. Wow. Guess it's because of smog and pollution. I have to blame something other than my overage. Oh well, but anyway, what I'm going to talk about today is the title shows. People that just stare at you all the time. I've gotten used to that over the years. When I was younger, that would bother me. Extreme cases of people that would just stare. And they'd always be there and just stare at you. I got an idea to make this video. It's to share with other people because, shit happens in this life, and I'm sure a lot of other people have problems, they experience things in life like this that they can never figure out or, use logic to figure out or define why did these people or that person do this? I mean, why? What was wrong? Was there something I was doing wrong? Was, I at fault? Or whatever? Was I dressing wrong or wearing the wrong colors? Or do I look weird? And some people will actually become inferior about themselves because of idiots that stare at them all the time. I got the idea for this video. A woman made a video about why people stare. She spoke of it from the spiritual, perception. But I'm going to put this in, down to earth to where people understand it. Like, why do people stare? Okay. Here's what happened to me, and this shit went on. Oh my God. From 1976 to the year 1995. This is the first occurrence of this happening to me. Okay? So I'll tell story number one. Okay, I had a house that was about a quarter mile further than where I'm living at right now. Similar neighborhood. It was a 3-bedroom single family home, just like the one I have now. To where the houses, were about 30 feet apart, I think. That's just guessing. Hell, I don't know. I've measured it before to make sure the fence, the boundary, the lines are straight or whatever, the survey lines. But, okay, in 1976, a guy bought the house next door to mine. Okay? And he was tall, he had long hair. And she was shorter, not real short, but shorter, and kind of a wide frame. Actually, she did sexually appeal to me. But when I know somebody's married, I'll glance, but it's like, no, piss on that, I don't look at other people's stuff, too much. But that female or woman, whatever she was, probably in 76, she was probably about age 20. Because I found out, she was about a year older than myself. The way I found that out, I just looked it up, recently. I was thinking about this, it was on my mind. Because it matters. Here, from 1976 all the way to 1995, which would be 18 plus years. Because they moved in sometime during 1976, which would be 18 plus years. Because the last time I was at that other house was around January of 1995, because I was still mowing the grass stuff, taking care of the landscape until, the house was sold. I had it for sale. She would stand out on the lawn, and she would turn herself sideways facing me. I spent a lot of time outside like I do now in the front of my house, because back then, just like now, I like to work on motorcycles. I always had project cars. I didn't rev pipes or loud. I always liked stock cars. So it wasn't noise that was offending anybody. But, you know, I had different cars. I always had about 5 cars. And over there I could park some of the cars in the backyard. You know, there was enough space between the houses or whatever, you know, to get through. She stood and stared at me for over 18 damn years. Over 18 years. And whenever some other neighbor would walk over there, her knowing that I could see this, here's what's weird about it. Was she an idiot, or was she deliberately trying to provoke me? She would cup her hand over her mouth like this and then turn her head to say something to them, and then they would look at me, and then she would turn her head and start staring again. So I know she was focusing on me and telling neighbors things about me. I had no clue what it may have been. But that went on for over 18 years. I know I've mentioned that before. And she would wear sunglasses. She had straight, longer hair. Okay. All right. And she wore sunglasses, similar to this, the large women's dark sunglasses that were like this. And she'd stand there. She'd never be sitting down, but she would stand at a stance, sort of with her legs separated, and to where she'd shift her body back and forth, like this, back and forth. And then when somebody would come visit me, you know, a lot of people would visit me back then. You know, I had a lot of human traffic would come to my house. Because, you know, I was working at High Drill. You know, there were hundreds of us, and I always had a handful of friends. You know, and she would, there was 3 hedge bushes between my house and their house, and she would gradually work her way closer and closer to my driveway while she would move back and forth like this and just stare and stare. And I could go outside at any time during the day. You know, there was a large plate glass window in their living room. The houses were built like that. The front of the houses had a large, very large, like 6-foot by 8-foot window in the front. You know, it was an unusual design. Those houses were made in the early 1950s. And as soon as I'd go outside, she would obviously drop whatever she was doing, because she would be in that front yard, and she would just turn and focus on me. And she never put a lawn chair out there. She never just kicked back and sat down to stare at me, but she would just stand there and stare and stare and stare. Okay, her husband, Buck, he worked all the time. And in that 18 plus years, she never had a job during all that time. And he would furnish her, I'd say about every 6 years, he'd buy her a new extended cab pickup. He himself, he drove this Dodge van. You know, it looked nice, you know, from the mid-1970s. So obviously he was making, you know, good money, because he could afford to allow her to be his personal parasite, or I guess for the sake of her vagina, he was willing to drag her through life and not insist that she work and contribute some money. But, you know, the big question, why did she do this? Well, it's like this, people. While she was standing staring at me all those years, she was actually spending her and her husband's money. She was spending their money. Because, see, time is money. Time is money. Because go figure, all the time she spent staring at me, She could have had some kind of a job. She could have been a cashier at a grocery store, a drug store, a clothing store. There's so many different things she could have done. And there's a lot of local jobs, around my area, because we have grocery stores, Walgreens, Office Depot, TJ Maxx, Cabinet. There's something she could have done all those years while she just idly stood and stared at me. So what that has to be is for her to be a certain type of time. She was investing into me what could have been money for her own household and her own life, and doing something with her own life to, have a life. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the saying, tell people, go get a life, when all they do is focus on you or gossip about you. But she had to think, she had to have great value for me and to want to be a part of me, or I had to be amazing to her like some alien, or why would she have invested all that time and then for this to go on for over 18 years? Oh my God. But I had to be of great value to her, or why would she invested the time? Because you can only put yourself in the same situation. Like where I live now, I've got neighbors to my right, to my left, across the street. If I was to just stand outside and stare at a neighbor, nobody in my neighborhood is important enough to me to where I can put down my hobbies or things I need to do or live my own life to where I'm going to waste my time just staring at them. I mean, they're not worth that to me. Because if I were to do that, that would mean that would be the joy of my life. And if I was to gossip about them and to where they could see it in plain view within like 40 feet, another neighbor that they know walks up and talks to them and to cup their hand over their mouth to where I can see this shit, they're trying to get my attention. But me knowing she was married, there is no way on God's green earth I was going to walk over there. It appears she was trying to provoke me to get a reaction out of me. But a reaction of what? Because see, you've got to figure, I didn't have booze parties over there because I'm a non-drinker. I never had a car I worked at to where I revved the pipes or anything because I'm into stock cars and stock motorcycles. So it couldn't have been anything like that going on. And after, I'd say 8 p.m. at night, my tools were put up. I wasn't doing anything outdoors unless I wanted to sit on one of my lawn chairs in front of my porch and drink coffee. Occasionally, like if the weather was good or there was a nice breeze, which I still do that now. Okay, the next episode, this happened in the year 2020. The year 2020. Okay, a Hispanic woman across the street. I still do not understand why she did this. But I bought this Harley Fat Boy, and I had it pulled up on my porch. I had to do a lot of work on it before I could get it right. It was a cash buy at a Harley dealership, a cash buy of a bike that it ran, but it needed to be put back to its original condition. Someone had screwed it up that they didn't know what the hell they were doing. Well, I worked on that off and on, for about 5 months, and in the meantime, occasionally I'd ride it around the block a couple of times, just for fun, and she sat on the back of this van. Here's what it does not make sense to me. From 3 p.m. every afternoon when her two girls would get out of school, they was little girls, she would sit on the back of this Nissan van with a bumper about this long, you know, sit on that from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. at night and just stare at me because, see, she was facing my porch. And I'm like, why the hell does she do that? You know, that went on from, it was April 9th, 2020, all the way till the first week of September that year, which is 5 months and 1 week. And her sitting on that bumper from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. every night, that's 5 hours, to just stare at me. But during that 5 months and 1 week, she never wants to get a lawn chair or just throw a blanket on her lawn and sit down, but she wants to sit on a short metal bumper 5 hours a day, you know, for 5 months and 1 week. What was that about? Man, how did her butt not get sore sitting on that little short bumper on the back of that van? And why did she do that? I cannot understand it. But again, she's married. I wasn't going to walk over there and ask her why she'd do that, but every time I'd turn my head, there she was. She'd be gawking, and I could be mowing the grass or weed eating out front. There she'd be, sitting on the back of that van, just staring at me. That went on for 5 years and 1 week. Well, I guess things caught up with them because, you know, life goes on. Things start happening. So I don't know what happened with that, but I still, to this day, I cannot understand any human wasting away that much of their life. Because her, just like the lady at the other house that stared for over 18 years. Look at the money people like that are sacrificing while they idly do this. You know? I mean, and we're talking about young people, younger people, you know? I mean, now, if a woman or a man, if they are retired and they don't work, I can understand them being bored, and maybe just parking a lawn chair on their lawn or up on their porch and to just stare at people walking by. Yeah, I can understand that. But younger people, I cannot understand that. I mean, if I would have been that woman's husband over at that other house, I would have said, man, you need to get a job, you know? You need to start doing something. And he would see her doing this all the time, staring at me days he was home on weekends. If that would have been my wife, I'd say, man, don't just stare at the neighbors. Don't you know that bothers people? But, you know, he never guided her. That's the way I look at it. If I had a woman in my life, or a wife, and they just stood and stared at a neighbor, I'd say, hey man, wake up call. Quit this shit. There's other things you can be doing for us. I mean, you know? But, you know, and there can be other reasons people can stare. If they stare at you at your job, it can be to watch your performance and run and tell the boss. Or it could be that they're staring so they can see how you do your job so that they can get your job. Okay, that is another reason. Or if a person was just staring at you, it could mean they're casing you out to like rip you off or break into your house. You got to watch that too. Okay, but anyway, I thought I would share this. It's not a stupid video because some other people out there, y'all may be having the same trouble. But if you have a neighbor that just gawks at you and stares all the time, as long as they don't come on your property, You can't ignore it, but brush it off. Just accept it as a reality, like a weed or, a tree or something. Just accept it in that way, and don't worry about it. Don't let it anger you to where that you yell out and say, "What the hell are you staring at?" Don't do that. Just let them do it. If they want to waste away their time and their life, they have to feel like you're a lot more valuable and matter a lot more than they do. You know, I remember I asked a guy named Gary that lived at the end of the street, I said, she stares all the time, and he said, Earl, here's what you ought to do. Pretend like that your house is a big mansion and that you're a movie star and that she's one of your fans. And actually, that was true. I was one of her fans. A person's going to invest hours a day for over 18 years just to stare at me? Yeah, they were one of my fans, all right. Oh boy, but see, it's your state of mind, people. That will. But life is full of a lot of weird things, a lot of things we will never ever understand. But some things, just don't let it bother you. Don't worry about it. But anyway, man, y'all have a great morning, day, or night, or whatever's going on in your life. And be careful and save money, man.